I'm going to have to go quantum physics, thing, jumping to higher levels. This is the thing that I think about when you talk about God. To me, I stick to the ideal that there is a God. And I'm not really going to sit there and argue about it in some rational kind of way, because it really is personal. See, I always think that religion is personal. It's personal and it's subjective. It's not objective. It really is a subjective thing. But you know what? Here's the funny thing is, we kind of live in this world where we look at subjective things as if somehow the fact that something is subjective is terrible. Like, oh my God, this is subjective. Now, I think it's subjective, but it's not terrible. It's kind of like something I was thinking about. I was thinking about Einstein. When he came up with the theory of relativity, the most controversial part of this thing had to do with time and space being subjective realities. That was radical at the time. And I think it still is to most people who don't understand physics. That time and space aren't what they appear to be. They aren't something out there. Think about it for a moment. Time and space seems to be something out there. We exist in a certain time, and there is space, of course, because we see the space between the camera and myself. The space between me and that wall. There's a wall over there, and it's further away. There's more space between that wall and me than between that camera and me. So space and time seem to be rather obviously out there in the world, objective realities. But in fact, what Einstein was saying is that they're subjective. And with that in mind, keeping that in mind, that's how he worked all those equations out, by understanding that fact. Yet that was rather controversial at the time. And, they didn't want to give him the Nobel Prize at first for that, because it kind of messed up what every other physicist was doing. See, when you come up with a different way of thinking and it screws up other people's things, then, that's when you get in trouble. I have ways of looking at God and ways of thinking about religion that are rather radical, to be honest. Because my idea about God is that God isn't a person or a thing. Just like Einstein, I don't believe in a personal God. I really don't. But I'm not an atheist. I do believe in God, but not as a person or as an entity that is looking out over everybody's life and judging everybody and deciding this person goes to hell and this person goes to heaven. I don't think I've ever really been able to accept that ideal. I don't think God operates that way. My belief is that God created the universe, and that the universe God created is perfect. And little by little, step by step, we see that perfection. But it takes effort to see the perfection. It takes learning, it takes education, it takes getting into it, it takes exploring the universe. The more we explore the universe, whether we're exploring in outer space, or we're exploring things in a microscope, or we're exploring things even philosophically and poetically, that's how God is revealed to us. That's the way I look at it. Now that's a little bit different, maybe a lot different. Maybe it's radically different from the way most people think about God. Because most people tend to think about God as being like a person. And I really don't think of God as being a person, because all God winds up being in a religious sense, in a normal religious sense of it, is basically a super person. He's a person except bigger, better, stronger, more super, and more able to do certain things that regular people can't do. But he still is a person. And I don't really see God that way. I know that's very radical, and that's probably upsetting to some people, because they'll say, well, then you don't really believe in God, and you really can't call yourself Christian. I think I can. Why? Because there are no real rules about it. Because if there are real rules about what I can call myself, then those rules can be enforced, and who's going to enforce them? That's the thing to think about.